So now that we've created our wireframes and we've had a look at what it might look like on our phone using Pop, the next stage is creating what are called mockups. Now, depending on which designer you talk to, a mockup might mean different things to them. But I'm going to use the word mockup in the design sense. And it's essentially a high fidelity representation of your design. It's almost like as if you went into this app of the future and you took some screenshots from it. It should look photorealistic and pretty much just like the real thing. Some mockups show the screens next to each other, and others show the mockup placed inside a phone and in some sort of use situation. So then the question is, how do you go about creating mockups, and what are the tools that you should use? So my tools of choice are Photoshop and Illustrator combined. For me, they represent the most comprehensive set of tools. You can literally do any kind of design work once you've got these two tools in your tool belt. Now, the problem with these tools is that they have a really steep learning curve. They have a lot of buttons and they have a lot of complex features. Layers, masks, the pen tool, they all take quite a long time to learn and get used to. Now, I started out with Photoshop over probably 10 years ago, and I picked up Illustrator soon after. So it's taken me, over 10 years to hone these skills. And I think for somebody who is starting out in digital design today, I really think that there are better tools that you can learn much faster that will be able to do 95% of what you can do with Photoshop and Illustrator. The other problem with these two softwares is they're from Adobe, and they're currently sold as a package through the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, anybody who's signed up to the Adobe Creative Cloud will know what a pain it is to try and get yourself out of it. So when you have a company license, that's all well and good, but if you need it for personal use, it's still something like £60 a month if you pay monthly, and I think £40 a month if you pay for a 1-year subscription. So it's horrendously expensive, basically. Now, the tool that I'm going to recommend to you and I'm going to teach you a bit more about is actually something else. It's called Sketch. And Sketch is a really great Mac app that only costs $99 on the App Store. And it can pretty much do most of what Illustrator and Photoshop can do. And especially when you're talking about user interface design, it can actually do some things slightly better than Photoshop and Illustrator. And a really nice thing about Sketch is that it allows you to create vector objects. So essentially images that scale to any size because they're vector rather than raster. So in Photoshop, you're predominantly working with raster objects or smart objects, and it's only in Illustrator can you create these vectors for, say, your icon design, your app icon, or your tab bar icons, etc. And Sketch can do all of that, and it has really good integrations with other tools for prototyping that we're going to talk about in the next module. So Sketch is great. You can get a free trial of it for 30 days, I think, for free. So give it a whirl, and if you like it, the $99 upfront cost is, nothing compared to Photoshop and Illustrator. So I'll show you a bit more about that a little bit later on. Now, the final thing I'm going to mention is something called Marvel. And Marvel is a browser-based app that you can use to create mockups and prototypes as well. Now, it has a pretty simple interface, and you can drag on various shapes or images or text, and it's basically even easier, I would say, in terms of the learning curve to use it. And in most cases, you don't really need the complex tools that you have in Photoshop and Illustrator. And in most cases, if you're just making mockups for websites or for apps, then Marvel can actually do just as well. And we'll show you how to use that as well. And a final tool that I wanted to mention is something called UX Pin. Now, I used to recommend them because I liked the way that you can drag on various UI components. So they have these libraries of UI components like buttons or calendars, and you can basically just drag and drop them onto the canvas. And it was a quick and pretty pain-free way of making mockups. But lately, I think their monetization model is a bit off, and they don't really have a very generous tier for beginners. So you can't really try it out properly before you have to pay for their paid tier. And their paid tier is on a monthly basis. And you'll find that overall it'll probably work out cheaper to just get Sketch and learn how to use it. And you'll be able to do a lot more with it than you can with some of these web tools. All right, so we've spent enough time talking about the wonders of Sketch. It's time to introduce you to Sketch 3. So